We're delighted to esteemed guests Michael Stewart and Kara Brown, who are going to talk about their experience switching from ZoomInfo to SalesIntel. So ZoomInfo might be the good solution for many. It's definitely the leader in the space, but might not always be the right fit for your team. So in this session, what we want to do is we want to talk with Kara and Michael, and they will share their evaluation process, decision criteria, and ultimately what influenced their choice to switch from ZoomInfo to SalesIntel. So you'll hear how they approach the benchmarking, what mattered to their team, and the impact that they have seen. If you are thinking that data strategy or exploring alternatives is top of mind at this time for you, we really think that you are going to benefit from the insights they will provide to you. So, Karen, Michael, I'll let you introduce yourself if you don't mind. Kara, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Michael.
Thank you so much, Johan, for inviting me to be here today. So I'm Kara Brown. I'm the CEO of Lead Coverage. We are the largest go-to-market consultancy that specializes very specifically in supply chain and logistics. So imagine UPS, Uber Freight, Amazon Fulfillment, etc. And so we've been doing this for almost 10 years. We've got some of the biggest names in freight on our docket, and we switched entirely from ZoomInfo to SalesIntel. I'm very happy to share my experience and my story. We also wrote a book on it. So we wrote this book called The Revenue Engine. If you want to follow up with me after this, I'm happy to send you a signed copy. It does not add to the value of the book. It is still about 20 bucks. But the book is 250 pages on go-to-market execution, specifically B2B, and then even more specifically in freight. And Manoj, the CEO of SalesIntel, helped me write the chapter on AI and what's coming in terms of B2B go-to-market, which I think might actually be out of date already. So maybe don't read that chapter since we wrote it about a year ago. But either way, it's been a delightful opportunity for us to partner with Manoj and Mike for a long time, and our clients are super happy using SalesIntel. So I'm happy to be here.
My name is Michael Stewart. I'm the Director of Partner Marketing and Alliances at ARC. We're a experience design and implementation company in Atlanta, Georgia. We've got offices, really little satellite offices in several places around the world, but primarily our headquarters is in Atlanta. We've got Fortune 1000 clients, all in a variety of different industries, from travel and hospitality to retail to commerce clients and whatnot. So we've got quite a few different partners that I work with directly, and our use of ZoomInfo is really more in support of our partner marketing efforts. And my sort of perspective on SalesIntel will lean heavily on that.
Sounds good. And know that I appreciate the intro from the both of you. And know that we are not here to bash ZoomInfo. Again, we were discussing about this. I've used ZoomInfo for many years. I think it's a good solution. Might not be the right fit for everyone. So it's all about giving insights on what you are seeing that is different, that is suiting your needs more, and we'll allow people also to ask us questions on this. I won't answer most of them. Maybe I will answer a couple of them if applicable. But the first question I have for you, and we'll start with you, Kara, is what first prompted you to look beyond what you were getting with ZoomInfo?
I'm so happy you asked that question that way. So it was Christmas of 2021. So we are in the thick of the pandemic. Bad things are happening, right? Like our business grew about 161% at that point, because remember, we were supply chain focused. So when your toilet paper was late, all my clients made a lot of money. So we were crushing it. Things were great. I have 5 ideal customer profiles in my market. So this is very specific, again, to supply chain: shippers, carriers, brokers, 3PLs, and folks that own warehouses. That's it. That's kind of the whole list. And so we couldn't get what we needed from ZoomInfo. They were kind of like the math was okay, like the revenue math was okay, but that the fields weren't right, and we couldn't zoom in. This is not not actually, but we couldn't get the filters to get where we needed them to be, and we had to pull in third-party data to kind of figure it out. And this is 2021, so this is long before AI. Everything was done on spreadsheets. It was really confusing. And I called the CTO at the time, Derek Smith, And I got a phone call with him. It was like Christmas Eve. And he finally talked to me. And I said, listen, I really need a better data set for supply chain. I need a data set for these 5 ideal customer profiles that I can take back to my clients who are brokers and carriers and freight forwarders, that they can understand the real shipper TAM. Like, help me understand the actual total addressable market for this $2 trillion industry. And he said to me, we just don't care. He basically said,
Oh,
you're not on our list. We are not interested in supply chain. If you're not fintech, you're not ed tech, you're not martech, like maybe the freight tech, maybe, but ZoomInfo is just not really interested in this marketplace. So I said, thank you, and hung up the phone, and eventually found Manoj and spent some time together, the two of us, and I explained this whole industry. And it was really funny. We were together in person in DC, and he looks at me dead in the face and he goes, Kara, this is a $2 trillion market. And I was like, yes, you are on board. And so SalesIntel has been our partner creating a hyper-specific kind of supply chain center of excellence since then. And so I think my experience with ZoomInfo was, if we didn't fit their ideal customer profile, if our customers didn't fit their ideal customer profile, they were uninterested in helping us deliver on the promise that we make to our customers, which is to help them find their TAM. And SalesIntel was willing to do that with me. So we spent time with the SalesIntel data team. We found new places for them to get data. They've delivered really strong filter results for our clients. And so it's been a really good partnership ever since. But that's my funny story about ZoomInfo saying, thanks, but no thanks.
Interesting.
They're very polite about it, but it was thanks, but no thanks.
I mean, it was honest. I mean, it was
Yeah.
definitely an honest answer on this one. I mean, focus is the essence of all businesses that we have. So at least if you are not willing to make efforts on it, yeah, say it. And actually, it highlights also one of the unique feature that we have with our research on demand team. So if you do not have the information that you're looking for, you can definitely request our team to do it for you. And that's one of the big things that I think people like about our services is you do not want your team to do list building. You don't want them to spend any time, I would say almost waste any time. You want them interacting with your ideal customers, not building list of ideal customers. So I appreciate that, Kara. Michael, what was the trigger point for you? Why did you look
so,
beyond ZoomInfo?
so my experience with ZoomInfo goes back about 8 years. ARC's been a customer of Zoom and every contract cycle, we would always go back and look at, you know, other competitors in the space, and really do head-to-head kind of comparisons on data quality. I noticed early on that the data quality wasn't necessarily what I would say was great. We do a lot of outbound, lot of filtering for technographics and demographics and stuff for our ICP. And the thing that I was seeing most often was ZoomInfo's data was probably about 75 to 80% accurate. But when you're doing, you got BDRs doing outbound and stuff, you don't want them wasting their time. And so that really kind of prompted me to start looking around. And I think I ended up doing a head-to-head comparison with Apollo, SalesIntel, and ZoomInfo, and maybe there was one other. And but it was data quality, because it had more to do with the way we were using ZoomInfo at the time. It was more of, hey, we want to find this exact person that we need to reach out to and try to create relationship with. And if I couldn't do that with 100%, kind of satisfaction, I got all kinds of grief from our BDRs that I was wasting their time. So it's really data quality that had me concerned most often.
Got it. And it was 8 years ago. You said that you looked
We
into that.
were a ZoomInfo customer for 8 years, and so for a while they gave us pretty good deals. I hadn't really gone into digging into what kind of opportunities or negotiations I could do with any other company. I just took rack price and looked at it. But again, it was that data quality that pushed us to look.
That's good. We'll double click on some of these things with the both of you. This know that you have a poll. Feel free to answer that poll. It will give us insights also on what matters to you. So go ahead and fill it out. Uh, the two of you had the main reason why you switched, but I want you to go a little broader because there is one thing that will definitely motivate you to look around. But this one thing is part of a set of criteria that need to be met. So, what were the top three things that you were really looking to get out of this provider, this other provider, other than ZoomInfo? That is the top three. The top three. So, Kara, we'll go back to you and if you can give us a little more than they were not giving us the level of granularity, and they had no focus on our industry. There was something else. What are the top three for you that need to be available?
Sure. So I think I'll tell you another experience share from a friend of mine. Her name is Charlie Safro, and I think she would be okay with me sharing this because she's talked about it on podcasts before. She runs a recruiting agency specifically in freight and logistics. She's a dear friend. And at one point in the kind of the 2010-ish, she and I were talking and sharing about ZoomInfo and how we were having kind of a hard go of it. And she went bananas and was telling me all the horrible things that were happening to her. Long story short, they made her give back all these records. So they basically told her, hey, these aren't yours. You didn't buy them. You rented them and you have to give them back to us or we're going to sue you. And they were just horrible to her. So I think my first criteria, Johan, is just the human element of the relationship with the data provider, right? That SalesIntel has always been willing to get on the phone with me. Like Manoj has been to my house, right? Mike and I have spent time together. You and I are getting to know each other. I think from a human to human perspective, it's always really hard to get someone on the phone at ZoomInfo. You're not treated as a customer, but you're treated as a number, right? And I get it, they're a big public company. But I think that our ability as an agency, as a go-to-market consultancy, I have to have a relationship with a data provider that I know I can pick up the phone and say, hey, my customer has a problem, right? So my customer, Uber Freight, my customer, Redwood, has a problem, and we need to solve this for them. So that's number one. I think two is also a little contextual, which is when I reach out and I say, hey, I'm looking for a specific type of information. So again, specific to freight might be number of dock doors, square footage of contract logistics or warehouse square footage, or whether or not freight is managed by a third party. Is there a 4PL involved? Like these are all really contextual to my space, but this is the same in healthcare. This is the same in education. This is the same in waste management, right? You have these micro criteria that can turn into more than just micro when it comes to a specific industry, when it comes to an ideal customer profile. So really getting clear on what those criteria were for our space, and then having a partner in SalesIntel to say, hey, we found this data set. Like an example might be the NMFTA, very specific data set on drivers that have accidents on their list. I don't know, something silly about freight specifically. And the SalesIntel team has always been like, hey, if you can get us the data, if you can find it for us, we'll pull it in and we'll turn it into something, right? Like the SalesIntel team has always been, like you said earlier, I don't need my team creating a claim model of all this stuff. I just want to hand it to SalesIntel and say, you do it, and then let me buy it back from you, right? Which has been really helpful. And then I think thirdly is actually the data itself. Like, can we use it? Is it usable? Do we have enough? Are we confident in the data that we're using on behalf of our clients? Full transparency, most of my customers, these are big freight brokers, carriers, and forwarders, come to us using ZoomInfo. And so a lot of times it's really hard to rip and replace, right? They're directly connected into the CRM, they've got legacy relationships, et cetera. But the minute we offer for kind of the dip the toe in the water on SalesIntel, maybe you can have both tools for a minute. Maybe you should, maybe you should take a look at both of these. We are seeing dramatic changes from ZoomInfo to SalesIntel because they're just seeing better quality data and the ability to filter down into some of these hyper specific pieces that my clients need. And like I said before, I'm specific to freight, but this is also in healthcare, fintech, ed tech, other places where one or two decision criteria for your ideal customer profile, being able to have access to that, being able to ask your data partner, hey, can you help me find this characteristic? Because this characteristic tells me whether or not someone is buying. And you and I haven't talked about intent yet on this call, Johan, but the idea that we can then layer that into intent inside of SalesIntel, which I'm sure we'll get to, is also like forward thinking, really exciting for me. So I think for me, it's having a partner that understands the space and is willing to kind of get dirty in what we actually need in the database. Two is just treating your customers well, right? Like the Charlie Safro example. And three is the quality of that data once we get it into our hands. How are we confident that we're sharing with our customers, hey, this is the tool that you should be using to get the best possible data?
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. I wish I could keep using this clip later on about this because this is what we are trying to say on our website. We'll give you good accuracy. We'll support you in the specific or the custom requests that you have. And we're going to listen to the requests that you have as well, and the things that we might not do well. What I think most people might not know is, I mean, gathering data using ML, machine learning, and AI is great, but you still need to do a lot of data wrangling. You still need to do a lot of normalization. And usually, most teams don't have a team of data engineers who are going to do it on their behalf. This is what our team is pretty good at. It's pretty efficient at. So thanks for highlighting this. Michael, what are your top three
You know, I,
criteria that really matter to you?
I think Kara hit so many of the points that I would make. I almost have to back up to another scenario of why we ended up moving from ZoomInfo. We had just changed CRM, and we were really looking to kind of raise the bar a little bit on how we integrated with ZoomInfo. I was really curious about intent signals. I was very I wanted to be able to make sure our data it was always accurate in CRM. And so I started to ask a little bit about API integrations and things like that. And all of a sudden, the price point for ZoomInfo just got astronomical. Again, that along with the just data integrity and data accuracy made me really look to move away. The things that I think beyond that have really kind of pushed the rock down the road was intent signals. Huge fan. I work directly with probably almost 20 partners globally, and I can use the intent signals to work with other partners through other platforms and kind of put together this triangulation of opportunities that we see in the marketplace. And that sort of triangulation, if I'm seeing intent signals that are strong on particular platforms or categories within our intent profile, and they're seeing it on their end from, could be from other competitive data sources, we can kind of put together a really good target list of whose door are we going to knock on, who are we going to try to see at conferences, and that kind of thing. So that was a really important thing. As I said, when we were changing CRM, API connectivity was really, really important to me. I, as a smaller company, I mean, ARC's, we've got 100+ employees, but during that time, again, Kara, it was all this was happening during COVID, so everybody's scrambling to do the best they could with what resources they had. I was having to do a lot of cleansing of our CRM, and it just became like a giant black hole of my time. And so I went to our CEO and I said, I can't do this anymore, and we need. I feel like I have another solution. And the way it worked out, we ended up changing CRM to HubSpot, and the integrations with HubSpot are amazing. I mean, really amazing. So that just I probably increased my workflow efficiencies by 30, I don't know, 33%, 35% easily within the first couple months. So that was another thing is that API connectivity. And then I've got Julie, who is our AE. I've got a great relationship with her. We have monthly calls. She's always asking me, what can we do better? And it is that support. If I was to call with a particular problem, which thankfully we don't really have any, but Julie's always there to answer it. She'll always route that problem to the appropriate people, and somebody always calls me back. So support was a big part of it. Just I'm not a SalesIntel expert. I don't know all the nuances with the platform, but if I do have a question, or where's this, where's that, how can I access this information, the answers are always there.
That's great. I appreciate that, Michael. We're going to double click on a couple of things that you said. We'll get Kara to get her take on it as well. I would say this is one of the biggest differentiator that we have with ZoomInfo. Again, not ZoomInfo bashing, but let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. If you are working with ZoomInfo, you are credit based for your subscription. So if you want to enrich your database and you have a lot of records in your database, it's going to get very expensive very, very quickly. So if you do outbound and you use credits for outbound, if you use their form fill, automatic form fill, you use credit for this, and you also use credit to update your CRM, which you should do because there is a huge amount of decay in your CRM that is happening, weekly, monthly, quarterly. You are going to go back and request some more credits very, very regularly. And I remember this discussion with my CFO over the budget assigned to ZoomInfo, and I had heartburns every single time I had to justify it with him. So this is why we came up with the unlimited subscription package. You want to update your CRM daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, have at it. This is buffet style for us, and we are doing this specifically for what you're saying. Is you want to trust the data that you are working with. You want to make sure your workflow are really effective, and you want to make sure that when your team reaches out to someone, they'll get the right person on the phone. It's going to be the right title, and they're going to be still with the same company. So our refresh cycle and our unlimited offering definitely is a differentiator. But now I want to go back to the both of you talked about intent, and I'll start with you this time, Michael, on intent. So you kind of explain how you are leveraging intent. I like your triangulation because I've done the same thing.
Mhm.
I use a lot of triangulation for intent because I remember working with third-party intent, and third-party intent is hit or miss most of the time. I mean, yes, you can see a domain basically spiking on intent for either a brand that is a competitor and or a topic that you are going after, but it's third party intent.
Right.
We have with SalesIntel, other tools have that as well. So ZoomInfo does this as well. They give you first party intent. So with visitor intent, you can kind of see which domains are coming on your website in
Right.
addition to this third party. So this is the start of the triangulation. But it's not enough. It's not because someone is on your website that they're a good target for you. So this is where the firmographics and technographics data are coming into play. And this is
Yep.
where you can layer in more intent topics. So can you give another example of how you have leveraged intent on some of your with some of your customers?
We have our partner ecosystem has several competitive brands within there. We use a platform, a partner ecosystem platform that I can see a lot of activity based on open opportunities and prospecting and that kind of thing. So I see all the different places where partners of ours are kind of spending their time trying to create opportunities and even getting into deals. So what I will do is take that information and bring back to the data that I get weekly from SalesIntel, and just simply look at, here's the brands that are showing strong intent signals, and we've got all of our partners as intent signals. So there's times where one partner may actually have the particular brand as a customer, but yet the intent data shows they're looking at other people. So it's almost like I can give them some defensive information. Maybe you need to have your success manager or an executive reach out to this particular brand and see if they're actually looking in the marketplace for another solution. So it just depends on those kinds of relationships that I either want to be very guarded with, or whether we really want to make plays to try to spin that off into another partner. It happens a lot. We work in implementation of CMS primarily. That's our foot in the door. But we work on in CRM, in marketing automation, and all these different platforms, these MarTech platforms. So there's a lot of switching going on all the time, and to have the ability to kind of see early signs of that intent, and those flags go up, gives me a offensive and defensive kind of maneuver to go through with our partners, and it's valuable. I mean, they call me all the time saying, "What are you seeing this week?" So it's valuable. We recently, with one of our partners, just got Partner of the Year, and I would say that my efforts with SalesIntel has been a big part of that.
So you don't need a crystal ball anymore. You can
I have a crystal ball.
You have a crystal ball too? Oh, well, great. So you are doing more than triangulation.
We're doing really well with that.
Sounds good. Thanks, Michael. And Kara, what is your experience with intent?
So I love intent. I'm a huge intent fan. We have defined 4 versions of intent: primary, secondary, tertiary. And then we have actually we've coined, if you will, last one, which we're calling single stream intent. And single stream, we're talking about coming from a single platform inside of a industry. So we have 2 opportunities inside of supply chain for single stream intent. So this is something we talk about all the time, every day, all day. SalesIntel is our partner for data, and I think I am 100% stealing 2 of these things. So Michael, you and I probably don't follow each other on LinkedIn. We've never met before, but I have a tendency to steal things from people that I think are brilliant. And I love both triangulating opportunities with partners. I think this is an absolutely brilliant way to use intent. And I love the idea of the defensive intent. So how do you, we've used this before, but I like the way that you mentioned, the way that you put it together, which is defensive. I think what I'm really excited about that is coming from SalesIntel, and Johan, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, is the opportunity to execute programmatic media on top of intent.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I find interesting, I'm in supply chain, mentioned that. This is a historically kind of older, they're not necessarily early adopters of technology, et cetera. And we are definitely on the front lines. The Kara Brown wrote the book on it, et cetera, on the front lines of intent. One of the biggest issues I see with customers coming to us saying, I'm on ZoomInfo intent or I have intent, is that they're using second-party data, which is really just Clickagy and Bombora, which is basically, I'm going to be kind of aggressive about this, basically garbage, especially with the direction of LLMs and where things are going with all searches. I think 45% of searches from Gen Z are now done outside of Google, right? So we're just seeing the second party intent, the Bombora, the efficacy of the Bombora and the Clickagy number of opportunities to get intent is not as effective as it used to be. And so we tell our customers, hey, let's just skip Bombora and Clickagy and let's go right to third party intent. And when you skip to third party intent, one of the most important things that we find that we have to educate our customers on is programmatic intent. So the idea that once you are in a defensive posture, which I think is really exciting, so a defensive posture, to catch everybody up, would be I'm the customer, I'm putting all of my current customers into my intent tool, and I'm looking for signals that they're unhappy and they're leaving. So this defensive posture, which I think is was Michael talked about, how do I then display programmatic advertising onto those specific humans? So programmatic advertising has been an incredible opportunity for us. We have seen incredible ROI executing programmatic advertising against specific humans. And I'll give you one kind of layer deeper. So quick case study for about a $3 billion company inside the four walls. So this is part of the supply chain ecosystem. We loaded up their prospect list, but this could be current customers as well. And we watched their 15 of these 75 prospects they were interested in surge on one specific robot vendor. And so when they're surging on one specific robot vendor, we don't really care who the vendor is because we don't actually sell robots. We are the installation partner. So Michael, it sounds like for you guys, like you're the vendor that does the putting the pieces together, but the actual software, you're agnostic. And so same idea for this particular customer. So what we did is we took the content that had been sent to the marketplace around this partnership from 2021 that had been released with very little fanfare, and we re-released it. So I have a PR team in-house. So we did the SEO, the PPC, the press release, the landing page, the full shebang, which then took these 15 Fortune 100 companies to 5 that were showing real intent around this new content that we had shared with the marketplace. And then we executed the programmatic media against those 5 logos. An actual human being, the chief supply chain officer for one of the largest valve companies in the US, clicked a programmatic ad for 42 cents. And so I think a couple of pieces there. One is the connection of intent to content and the connection of intent to what your marketing team is putting out. So this isn't the 5 reasons to choose our business, right? This is a market specific piece of content. We call it commercial PR that gets in front of the appropriate audience on this thing that they're searching, which may have nothing to do with you, right? So the content we put out had nothing to do with inside the 4 walls. It was about robots. And then lastly is really understanding your ICP, which goes all the way back to data and data validation, because once you execute that campaign and once that content is out there in the world and you want to share the programmatic media kind of budget with your leadership team, who are we getting in front of? How are we doing it? What's the tool, right? And who are like the who is more important than the what. If that data isn't correct and you don't have the ideal customer profile buyer inside of your CRM and inside your programmatic intent tool, you're going nowhere, right? So the order of operations for us is know your ICP, acquire every email address who can buy from you, use third-party intent to see what they're searching for, execute a commercial PR component to that drives activity and drives eyeballs, and then put programmatic media behind that whole system. And so for us, SalesIntel is a piece of each of those motions, maybe not the PR motion, but a piece of each of those motions, because if you don't start with the right ICP, and I'm newly obsessed with the ICP tool, if you don't start with the right ICP and you don't use the programmatic intent against the correct ICP, all of that work that team is doing is getting in front of the wrong person, right? And so you can see this intent. I love this idea of triangulated intent that Michael has put in front of us, which is awesome. But if you're triangulating and you end up sending it to the person making the decisions on, AR instead of what you're selling, right? CRM, CMS, right? Then it doesn't do you any good.
Right.
Totally. And I will say this, I mean, I've done intent for a few years as well. And we did triangulation, but with first, second, and third party intent. Because at first, when I was doing it, I saw a lot of false positives. It was highly frustrating. It's really helping you to go from TAM to SOM. Its
Yep.
total addressable market can be really big to serviceable, obtainable market, which is, and I like to talk to my team about this, is when I talk about intent or when I introduce them to intent is try to sell me diapers. My kids are 17 and 15. Good luck.
Right.
It doesn't
Technically,
matter how
you have
good.
children, but you're not buying diapers.
Exactly. It doesn't matter how good the deal is going to be. You are targeting the wrong audience. I'm
Right.
not going to buy. You're wasting resources towards an audience that is not going to answer to you. The other thing that I've seen and that you talked about, Kara, and like this is when you put content out there that addresses their intent, it's like, ooh, they know me.
Right.
They are talking to me right now. This is top of mind. It's like, when you do remarketing, retargeting, when you are
Yep.
going on Amazon, you are looking at this piece of equipment or whatever it is that you're looking at, a new lawnmower, and all of a sudden you start getting ads on this is right message at the right
Yep.
time. And this is what intent is all about. And I think, yes, we are helping with the programmatic advertising because we allow you to tie this intent, layering your ICP, and making sure you are targeting the right people because we are going from intent to right target to right contacts. So the buying group within their ICP that will help you not spray and pray with your messaging, but yeah, targeting the right people at the right time with the right message. Super important. And if you put the intent into the ad, it's all of a sudden you'll see your click-through rate increase. And I saw that pretty effectively a few years ago when I started putting basically the topics they were looking at directly into the headline. It was amazing. Our CTR jumped 400% on this. So it works. It's not always easy. It's true that there is a lot of trial and errors that you have to go through. But once you realize you shouldn't go after everyone and their brothers and sisters and pets, you'll see definitely a pretty good ROI on leveraging intent. Now, I want to go back to another topic aside from intent, and I know it might be part of the day-to-day that your team is using, but can you walk us through how your team is using SalesIntel day to day? The people who are foot on the ground, who are using the tool regularly, and Michael, will let you start on that one.
So
Oh, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
no, you can go, Kara.
No, please. You said Michael, and then I
If
started
you
talking.
can, if you want to switch, Kara, go for it.
No,
I
please
know
go,
Michael.
Michael.
So we've got, I don't know, I've got probably 5 different seats for people within our business. We're reaching out to companies that are Fortune 1000 companies. It's really, really important for us to kind of be able to feel confident about the contact information we get, because a lot of times this ends up with, we will end up doing like a LinkedIn reach out, or it could be email, it could be a phone call, but to not be able to have confidence in the data that we have, it that derails everything. So let me start there. My I kind of told you a little bit about my weekly regimes with SalesIntel. That's probably, I mean, day to day, I'm always looking at, is there somebody new that is in this our ICP contact list of a particular brand, and is there a way I can put content in front of them to sort of drive some engagement on our website. That's a big part of it. But our business is really much more a one-to-one. I mean, we do a lot of automated marketing as well, but I want to say our marketplace is rather noisy because of the way technology is changing. AI is a big part of that. So the thing that we're kind of finding is that people prefer those one-on-one kind of connections. In terms of doing large email, batch emails out to people, whether it's a marketing contact or not, it just never, those don't seem to work as well anymore. So really that looking for that perfect contact, being able to we always validate everything on LinkedIn. I mean, people are always, if they do one thing, they keep up with their profile on LinkedIn. That's about the only thing I can say is really 100%. So that tends to be sort of an area where we start hunting for new customers and new opportunities. The data that's there, I mean, somebody didn't update their profile. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But what we end up doing there is making a relationship with somebody that may be in between jobs, who again is a very, very high value kind of contact. It could be a CMO or a CTO or chief digital officer. They're going to land somewhere at some point. So we're always looking to try to keep our contact data in CRM as absolutely as accurate as we can. And, in however the means are that we reach out, again, one-to-one is really big for us right now. We probably get about an 85% conversion rate off of that. So, when you start looking at even click-through rates for emails and they're, maybe 28%, it just doesn't compare. So when you that's where I keep going back to data integrity, data accuracy. It's super important to us. We've got a small sales team, so every phone call, every email, it all matters. So I don't know. I can't really tell you exactly. Everybody's kind of looking at SalesIntel differently. Some people look at it more as, hey, I just want to make sure that I can research the brands that we want and really, really dive in deep to what those who those contacts are and do research around that particular person before we reach out. So
yeah, makes all sense. Data is the foundation for everything that you're going to do. And whether you automate or whether you're doing one-on-one outreach with humans, if the data is not reliable, it's not going to scale, and you're not going to be effective in your outreach. And if you have any questions, by the way, that we have not addressed yet, drop these questions in the chat. We'll try to address them before the end of this session. So don't hesitate to drop a few questions here. So Kara, day to day, a few things that you want to highlight, how it's being used by your team.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we have beta access to this tool, Johan, and I apologize if I'm sharing with the marketplace what I shouldn't, but
Go for it, it's okay.
But we've been a partner of SalesIntel for a long time, and our team is using the ideal customer profile tool a lot. So one of the things in the revenue engine, super important to us, everything starts with the ideal customer profile. And full transparency, most of my customers get it wrong. Like a lot of them get it wrong, or it's too wide. Or they also, if you're big, if you work for a big organization, a big enterprise, I have noticed that enterprise go-to-market teams have a tendency to apply their own internal filters to potential customers. So for example, big company, right? They do all kinds of things, and we'll say, well, Sherwin-Williams is a shipper. They're your ideal customer profile. And the guy that does LTL says, well, kind of. And the guy that does truckload says, well, kind of. And the guy that does hazmat says, well, kind of. And I'm like, no. It wasn't a question. They are an ideal customer profile, right? So I think really getting down to the brass tacks of what is an ICP and having a true formula that uses demographic and or firmographic and technographic data. So most of my customers or prospects, when we're going around the country, we're doing a series of workshops. So we wrote a workbook on the book, and we're taking the workbook around the country. And when we get in the rooms with these people and we do the ideal customer profile exercise and we add the technographic component, a lot of times they're surprised. And we're doing this for freight brokers and forwarders and shippers and 3PLs. This isn't, you don't have to be in SaaS to use firmographic data as part of your ideal customer profile. And you should be using firmographic data as part, or excuse me, technographic data as part of your customer profile. And so I know that the team is using the ideal customer profile builder inside of SalesIntel on a regular basis. They're doing this after we have the exercise. They're doing this during the exercise. They're doing this as part of the exercise to identify as close as we can to this ideal customer profile number, the TAM number. And so for us, there are 19,677 shippers in the US with a material shipping value. So basically there's 20,000 logos. Which of those 20,000 logos are actually in your TAM? And then we'll identify who's in the SOM, right? And so that's a big chunk of how the team is using the more sophisticated tools in SalesIntel. And then on behalf of our customers, we often will use SalesIntel to pull those records. So as we service anyone in supply chain, enterprise and public, all the way down to tech startup. So a lot of times we're starting kind of at zero. So we'll make sure that we have at least, 10 or 15,000 records that we can use to both track primary intent and to send emails out to that are in the total addressable market. And then lastly, I think it's just for our team, right? So we have our own TAM, our own marketing team is putting out content on a regular basis to give people our point of view on the supply chain go-to-market ecosystem. And so we're in it every day. Our teams are super users. They know how to use it, and they are in there making sure that we have access to the right data.
Yeah, and you heard it first. ICP Intel is coming. Actually, it's coming. It's coming in a few days, a couple of weeks.
Great.
So we'll have
Everyone
it.
should get it when it comes out. My team loves
Yeah,
it. Oh,
I like it too,
everyone is.
Gary.
Yeah,
you heard it here
everyone is
first.
good. Everyone is going to have access to it, but it goes back to what we were saying earlier. It's look, your time is big. That doesn't mean that everyone wants to work with you or can work with you. It's important to know firmographics. It's important to know technographics data. I would say even technographics is not more important than firmographics, but do they use Shopify or do they use Magento? Do they use Salesforce or do they use HubSpot? If you are specialized for support on one platform, you want to go after the people who are using that platform.
So I just one comment on that, Johan. What we talk about is I love a good 2x2, Harvard 2x2. We talk about the sophistication matrix.
Mm-hmm.
So in freight, if someone is on Shopify Basic versus Magento, which for anyone not at ecom, Shopify Basic is Excel and Magento is SAP, right? Like where do they land on the sophistication spectrum gives us an indication as to how sophisticated they will be when they buy from us, into us being my customer. And so it's not just about the technographics, but the technographics give us an educated guess as to where they land on their sophistication spectrum, which should be part of your ideal customer profile. Just because someone meets the firmographic criteria does not mean that they will actually be an ideal customer profile. You have to look at sophistication of their technology tools, their leadership team, the decisions they're making, and if they're not public, then how do you get that information, or how do you assume where are the breadcrumbs to kind of pick up on that trail? And it's technographics that can get us most of the way there.
All right. It also allows you to personalize the outreach a lot better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's they know that you know what you're talking about when you mention their tech stack. Actually, we have more than 38,000 technology that we are tracking, and we do not only public but also behind the firewall and cloud-based tech tracking. So it's important for anyone who is looking at technographics data. I would say we have about the best offer that is out there that is updated weekly, not quarterly by most. This is where our human layer. This is one of the big differentiator that we promote very often is we love automation, we love AI and ML, but we have humans in the loop. Actually, we have 2,000 researchers who are validating all of the data points that we offer in our database, and this is what makes it more accurate. actually. Um, the actually we are 10 minutes away. We'll answer some questions. I just saw Michael answering a question on the fly. We're awesome. But the question was around, email is not working as well. So what is your approach to this dip in email efficiency? Michael, if you don't mind sharing with the audience your answer, that would be great.
Not at all. So like I said before, our customers are very, very specific. There's influencers and decision makers that buy technology for large companies. It's typically not done, in a group purchase environment. But it's people's jobs depend on it, and those people really want to rely on a relationship and it's up to us to kind of build trust with these people. And again, a lot of that doesn't happen with just sort of mass marketing. It happens with very, very relevant email, still one-to-one email, not something coming from a automation system and that kind of stuff, or it's pointing somebody towards thought leadership type content. But where we're most successful is really with those phone calls.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised. And again, SalesIntel is a great resource for cell numbers. I've reached out to a couple people just by text, and again, blind text is kind of a weird thing, but I've gotten in touch with them, and we've ended up having a phone call, and we end up having a phone call about kids and what this person's, and all of a sudden they want to talk about what art can offer. So it really is sort of creating that human connection, and I think a lot of times that happens with just that, picking up the phone and giving somebody a call.
Right. It's a multi-channel approach, I would say.
It is.
When one is going down, like email, well, do more programmatic advertising. Again, when
Yeah,
you're doing
yeah,
it, when you're timely with it, it works. And if you are seen on these different channels, this is another thing I tell my team all the time is you don't buy from a company you have never heard of.
right.
Like there is no debate on that one. So you need to be visible, but you need to be visible at the right time with the right message. So
Well,
make
and
sure that you're
Kara,
using the right tools for that.
Kara, a good example of that. I'm a Braves fan. You live in Atlanta. I'm sure you are
Yeah,
too. Staya is a sponsor of Braves, and it's
sure.
right there on the sideline. And I talk to people all the time, and they say, "What is this Staya LTL?" And I'm like, "Let me tell you about that.
Let me tell you about less than truckload shipping.
My former career was in transportation, so I know quite a bit about it. But again, it's a non-digital way of putting a name out there where somebody's going to get a little bit curious and go and do a search. So
Okay. We have another question from Sarah that just came in. So, Kara, I'll let you take this one. Who is responsible for managing sales intel on your team? Marketing, sales, someone else?
Yeah, so usually it's the marketing team. Um, we like to think of marketing and sales as one team. I know that's hard for a lot of enterprises to get their minds around. We think about it as the go-to-market engine, right? And so sales and marketing are one team. We also prefer, this is just a lead coverage preference, we prefer HubSpot to Salesforce, so that we can all be using the same database. Our biggest challenge in CRMs is that if you're on Salesforce and you have a separate marketing tool, and now you're updating two separate CRM and a marketing automation engine, and that can get really complicated. So generally lives in the marketing team with sales having access. We are also really specific about how we use intent data with sales teams. There's nothing worse than handing a sales rep in an intent lead and having them say, "Hey, Mr. Customer, I saw you were on our website yesterday and that you're looking at 3 other options and we can see all the things you're doing. So why don't you talk to me?" Like, so awkward. So we like to give the marketing team access to the intent data and then make some judicious decisions on where that goes before we hand. I mean, we're in freight, right? So there's a lot of it's a lot of phone calls being made every day, all day. So making sure that we can do those intelligently is very important to us. So generally it's the marketing team. And then we, Lead Coverage, we're an agency. So we also hold our own license, and we are using the ideal customer profile exercise inside of our license today. So we have logins to all of our customers' licenses. We can get in there and move things around, update. But I have a couple minutes left. Johan, I want to make one comment before we hop on something you shared with me that I've been using a lot. So when you and I met, you shared with me that 25 to 30% of your database needs to be cleaned every quarter, right? That the rate of decay in databases is anywhere from 25 to 30% per quarter. And this is something that I don't think we are talking enough about. So I don't know enough anymore about the ZoomInfo, like how they manage record decay, because I'm no longer a customer, but I've been very happy with the ability to enrich current records that live inside our HubSpot and Salesforce connections from SalesIntel for our customers. So I think if there's anything that I would want someone to take away who's learning about ZoomInfo, who's learning about SalesIntel, who's learning about databases in general, the commoditization of the records themselves is coming. And I think having a relationship with a partner who will help you stay on top of the 25 to 30% decay is the most important, because we've been talking on the call today about the who is more important than the what. And if your who is already off by 30% because you're not being judicious about taking care of your records, that is just going to degrade your ability to deliver on the KPIs you promised to your leadership team.
Totally. Actually, there are several stats on this. I've seen 70% of your B2B contacts are outdated within a year. 70, that's out of 100,000, 70,000 are outdated at the end of the year. It's pretty wild. And it applies to your tech stack. It applies to the revenue information. It applies to almost everything that we're dealing with. So yes, refreshing your data is usually underestimated by most. And this is what our customer are happiest with. To piggyback also what you were saying, who is using what or managing SalesIntel? So Sarah, it depends on who we work with. Sometimes the sales team is going to bring us in. Sometimes the rev or the ops team or the IT team is going to bring us in. So we work with all types of teams, and we have our geeks can talk to your geeks. Our salespeople can talk to your salespeople. Our marketing people can talk to your marketing people, if need be, to help you with that transition. We have 2 minutes left. I want to get you to talk about two things. Each of you is, if you were to give a peer advice today on people who are using ZoomInfo and might be evaluating SalesIntel, what piece of advice would you give them? Michael, we'll start with you, and we'll finish with Care.
I've done these head-to-head sort of comparisons for years. Matter of fact, I'll do it again when my SalesIntel contract comes up, because our CEO demands it. He wants to know that we're making the best purchase decision. I mean, make a list of what's really important to you. If data integrity is important, if data into programmatic advertising is important, list those things and prioritize them and measure all the providers. I think you'll find that SalesIntel stacks up nicely and in a much more positive way than most of the other providers out there, specifically for the cost.
Thanks, Michael. And I would say this is, at times, especially if your company is pretty big, I would highly recommend. I know it might not be something that you're looking at. Having only one data provider might not be the best answer for you. There is a lot of waterfalling that is happening right now. Yeah, Clay is awesome. Clay is awesome for outbound. To enrich your database, it's going to get really expensive very quickly. So you need a data provider for that. But stacking up 2 or 3 providers might not be a bad answer for you. Kara, I'll let you close it out.
I love the idea of stacking providers. We work for an enormous company, and they're definitely doing that and using their own AI to pull into a data lake and be able to enrich their own data. But the thing that I think I would give anyone advice coming into this space is to spend some time learning about intent data, and to spend some time understanding what programmatic media is and programmatic media buying. I think it is the Achilles heel of any go-to-market leader or provider who doesn't know enough about programmatic intent, because it's coming for us all. And those that know how to use it are spending less to capture eyeballs. It's almost 6 times less expensive than Google and LinkedIn. And I think we are seeing the first signs of Google paid media sort of dying a slow, gasping breath over the next 10 years. And so if you're not in front of the programmatic intent, I think you'll be left behind.
Yeah, and we can help with that. We're pretty decent. We are pretty good with it when
Yeah,
it comes to
pretty great.
intent. So thank you so much to the both of you for joining, and everyone who
Mm.
joined us. You will have access to the recording, and we'll post some clips on the tidbits of the best sections of that webinar on LinkedIn. And thanks again. It was a pleasure to have the both of you.